Tonight we're going to be doing pet portraits or painting colorful animal portraits. And this is actually a picture of a doggie of mine named Lacey, who passed away in last year in June, I believe it was. Um, and she was very mischievous. And you see how she had one ear up and one ear that would like flop over. She was such a cutie. So I used that to create this cute little colorful watercolor. And then my daughter out in California has a cute little doggy. I'm not sure what kind it is. I'm going to show you the picture and you tell me. I think it might be a Lhasa Apso. Um, of course, could be a mix. And here's Lacey, by the way. There's Lacey right there with the one ear up and one ear down. Oh, so cute. And then this is my daughter's dog, Max, out in California. So if you know what kind of dog this is, put it in the comments. I'd love to know. But so cute. And I did a quote unquote portrait. Now, these are very loose, and my objective is to be fun. And oh, thanks for the hearts over on YouTube. I appreciate it. So it's to be fun and just get the concept or the idea across of the animal and not to create a portrait where you're trying to be precise. I am not a precise painter. I had mentioned last week, I'm not a realistic painter. What I like to do is have fun with painting and get colorful. So this is Max. Ah, there's Max. And I just love the little nose on Max. And then I learned from another artist how to do the eyes. And I think the eyes are what really make it. If you've got the eyes down, then you can kind of, fudge the rest, have fun with the rest. Even here, I gave Lacey blue eyes, even though Lacey, of course, she has black eyes. If you look here, you see how her eyes are mostly black, but it doesn't matter. We're artists, so we can do whatever we want, right? And so that's why I gave them blue eyes, and Max has little brown eyes here. So we're going to play with that today. Actually, I have a project. Ooh, where did I put the book? Okay, the book is right here. Phew, good. We have a project where we're going to do a very loose cat, and the cat is going to have green eyes. You know how cats have like beautiful green eyes, or they'll have those yellow eyes, but we're going to do one with green eyes tonight. Now, I've shown you this author before. I love this author. Her name is Anna I think it's Kolyadich or Kolyadik, and it is 15-minute watercolor masterpieces. So I've shown you before her gouache book, and 2 weeks ago I showed you her oil pastel book, and we did that pistachio ice cream out of it. That was so much fun. So same author, but this is 15-minute watercolor masterpieces. Yeah, like I said the last time, I can't recommend her books enough. She has those three books that I saw recently online, and I highly recommend you get all of them. But there is a section in here where she shows you how to paint animals. So not just our pets. This is the one that we're going to be doing this evening together. Oops, let me show you her tabby cat. So there's her tabby cat out of here. We're going to do that together. But let me see, what other animals does she have in here? She has a bear. Oh, her bunny. Her bunny is just so cute. And she breaks it down just like in her other books. Step one, two, three, four, super easy. My favorite one out of here is the fox, the sly fox. But she also does food. I've done before a cake or a donut from her book. This book, there's birds. Let me see, fruit, flowers. I'm just sort of flipping through it so I can show you some of the other goodies that are in here. I mean, it is chock full of projects, just chock full. You can't go wrong buying her books. This one is one of my favorites, which is the whale. So you see that beautiful whale right there? Yes. So we are going to use this one in order to do the kitty cat because I'm not a cat person. I don't have a cat. I've never owned a cat. I don't want a cat. No offense to you cat people out there, because when I visit somebody that has a cat, I love the cats. I just don't want one in my house for some reason. And I love dogs. And I've had dogs my whole life. Even when I was a baby, my parents had a picture of me with our little doggy who was a puppy. I'm in my crib. So, that was a long time ago. And I'm laying on my side, and the dog is sitting right on top of my head. So that is how long I've had dogs my whole life, which is a long time. Oh, yeah. Florida Glass Girl says, can't deal with the litter box. Right, right, right. Well, one of my daughters has a cat. She had two cats. One of them has passed away, but the other one, she got an electronic litter box for it. And so the cat goes in there, and then you kind of hear this, "Rear, rear, rear," and it's it recognizes when the cat goes in. After the cat goes out, it scrapes it, and then you just throw out the little bag. It's modern conveniences are amazing, right? Oh, but the dogs, we take them out, and then we deal with it when they're out, not in the house, right? So much. All right, let me show you some of the pictures that I used for inspiration for making my portraits. I had shown you, see, I have two. So she passed away, and this one is an old girl. She's 17 years old. She turned 17 in December. And so this little one is the one that whenever I'm doing the show, and then I say my pupster's in here and she's whining at me. Yeah, that's this one right here. And then I had shown you Max, my daughter's dog, Max. And then let's see, there are a couple more here. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these kind of pictures. Thank you. Yes, so cute. I love those pictures or illustrations of the dogs where their face looks super big, or even a cow or something, like they've come up to the camera and they've stuck their nose in the camera. And so this is a picture that I did of Lacey before she passed away. Right? You see how it's exaggerated? This part's super exaggerated right here. That would be a lot of fun to do that one. And so I was trying to get a similar picture of Becca is my little one that I have left. And this is the picture that I got of Becca right there. So it's not quite the same perspective, but I thought it was kind of fun because she has her little winter coat on. I was holding her up with her winter coat. You can see her eyes are all glazed over because she has cataracts at her late age, right? And so she doesn't see very well, but we love our babies, right? And so what I've done is I've put these reference pictures. Um, I put this reference picture, the one I showed you of Max, this reference picture, and also Lacey. This reference picture are up on my website. So when you go to my website, which is Dietzart, DIETZART.com, and I'll hold that up for you if you want to take a picture of this. So it is right here, dietzart.com. So if you go to dietzart.com, then the first page that you land on is my blog, and that's where I put the articles from these workshops. So after the workshop is over, I go on to YouTube because I'm simulcasting from Whatnot and YouTube. So I go back to YouTube and I add the links to the products that I'll be showing you tonight. But I also will give you special links to things like these pictures and outliners. So I also gave you the picture of on my website, the picture of the outliner here. Hey, Crazy Chunk Art, so good to see you. Glad you could make it tonight. We're doing animal portraits and colorful and crazy animal portraits. And so this outline, I took a picture of it before I painted it, and that is up on the website. So you can just click on it on a PC, right click on it, and then it should open a new window for you and you can just download the picture. This is the other one of little Becca in her cute little winter coat. So this is the one that we are painting tonight. We're going to do the kitty cat from the book, and then we're going to do Miss Becca. But this outline is on my website. So after a couple days from now, I'll have the full article up with the link to the video on YouTube and links to the art supplies. But right now, you can go to my website and you can click and download these images for yourself if you want to use those. They're already outlined for you, right? And how do you transfer an outline? Let's say that you printed this outline and you want to transfer it onto a piece of watercolor paper, which is what this is. Then you use something called transfer paper. So, transfer paper is what you put between your watercolor paper like this and your image. So, if I put this image on top of here, I would tape down the image and then I would go over the image with a pencil or a ballpoint pen. And then what would happen is I would get the picture onto the watercolor paper. So that's how you can use the images that I've given you on my website to make your own um, outlines and then uh, on watercolor paper, that is, because we're going to be working with watercolor paper tonight. Now, there are two kinds of watercolor paper that I like to use. One kind is called cold press watercolor paper. And my favorite kind, this is my favorite kind that I show y'all every week when we're working with it, is the Canson XL watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds, so it's a nice thick weight and perfect for your everyday watercolors and experimentations. And I like to buy them when they're 2 for 1. So I watch for the sales and then I get two sets. Let's see how many sheets are in here. 30 sheets. Look at that, 30 sheets. So when they're on sale 2 for 1, you get 60 sheets for the same price as one of these. But I will have a link to it, to this product in the description of my video. And then the other kind of paper that I like to use, it's also a watercolor paper, but it's something called oh, and that last watercolor paper was called cold press. So that Canson is cold press, and it has a little bit of texture to it. And I can work with either the textured or the untextured paper. It's all good to me. But one of my favorite things to do a project like this on is the what's called hot press paper. So here, this is the Fabriano hot press paper. And so it's also 140 pounds. And you'll notice somewhere it says studio. It'll say studio watercolor right there by Fabriano. And hot press means that the paper is smooth. So I do enjoy, especially if I'm going to be doing spattering like this, or if it's your first time with watercolor, sometimes you're not used to that kind of textured surface and what it's going to do to your art and your painting. So if you want a little bit more of a predictable result, like I make a brush stroke and it stays where I put it, then you may want to use this hot press or smooth paper. And this is the one that I recommend is the Fabriano Studio Watercolor, which is fabulous. And this comes in a big pack too. Look, this one is a 50 sheets. I think you can get it as a 15 sheet and a 50 sheet. I'm not sure, but something like that. Which depending on how much money you want to invest in order to get a pack and test it out. But very, very, very good quality. Neither one of those are 100% cotton. Okay, a lot of watercolorists are like, you need to work on 100% cotton paper. This one is 25% cotton and 25%, yeah, 25% cotton here on the Fabriano. And I don't even know if it says on the Canson. Let's see, let's see. It might say somewhere in the small print here. It does not. Okay. But if it doesn't say 100% cotton on the packaging, It probably is not. Okay. So these are not 100% cotton, but I'm telling you, you can certainly get away with a paper that's not 100% cotton. If you're going to be doing big artworks and you're going to be charging a lot of money for it, you're using professional watercolors, then definitely I recommend that you go ahead and get a 100% cotton paper. There are several brands of 100% cotton paper out there. And so it is widely available. And I see some comments over here. Do you put human eyes in your animal? Carl Goldberg was asking. And I don't know if you would call that human eyes. I tried to make them the same shape as I saw in the photo. So if you look here, hold on, let me grab that photo. Good question, though. And yeah, I know some artists will put human eyes on their animals, and then it's like you look at it and go, it's kind of familiar, but it's also kind of disturbing at the same time. But if you look here, you see Max's eyes and you see the circular, they tend to be a little more round than ours do. And so, what I did here with Max is I made the eyes more round. I followed along. I actually transferred this image using the transfer paper onto here, and I focused on the nose and the eyes. I didn't do all of this because I knew I was just going to use a brush to fluff Max up and have some fun with Max. So I don't know if you would think that those are human eyes, but I tried to make it more um, well, I did give it a lighter color because, of course, most of the time, even if your dog's eyes are brown, they tend to almost look black in photographs. But if you were to get up really close, you would see that they're a deep, deep brown. So that's why I made these brown, but I lightened them up just a little bit. And I was using the shape of Max's actual eyes. So thank you for that question. Oh, and Dan, the breaking news man, welcome in, said, is that good for watercolor pencils too? Yes. If you can use either the cold press, which is textured paper, or you can use the hot press, which is the smooth paper for watercolor pencils. And what I do a lot of times is, let's say that I've done this painting of Max, and then I want to go in and I want to add a few details. A lot of times I'll go in and maybe I want to shade an area. Maybe I want to shade it a little more underneath the eyes, but I feel like using my paint on a brush would be a little bit too much. It has the possibility of ruining your piece or maybe depositing too much paint or too much water. Then I will go in with a watercolor pencil and I'll darken or I'll highlight exactly what I want. And then I'll come in with a brush that has just plain water on it. And I put the just plain water on a paper towel to be sure that it's not dripping. And then I'll go into those little areas where I have my watercolor pencil and I will feather out the watercolor pencil to give the full effect of watercolor. So, yes, those watercolor pencils are terrific. They work great on projects like this and on these exact same papers. As I mentioned, I will have a link to these papers in the description of the video on YouTube. I'll probably go back to sometime later tonight after the show's over and I'll add those in for you. So by tomorrow, you should be able to access the video under my live tab on YouTube and then click in the description and you'll see a listing for those papers if you want to go check them out. Okay, then paints. So I really enjoy using tube paints. Let me see, where are my tube paints? So for instance, this is a tube of watercolor paint. How much is in here? Is this 15 milliliter? Oof, is it even saying? I'm shocked that it doesn't just say, oh, you know why? Because it's rolled up on the end. It says 11 millimeters, right? Or 11 milliliters right there. So this is a tube of professional watercolor paint. And what I do with these is I probably have 10 different palettes around my studio. plastic and ceramic. This is my favorite right now, ceramic palette. And I will take this and deposit some of it into the ceramic palette. So let's do that right now. This is the Core brand quinacridone magenta. So you can see I've almost used it all up in here. And so I will just squeeze this and replenish it with a little bit more, just like that. So creamy, so easy to use. I love using paint from tubes. And the nice thing about watercolor like this is it is re-wettable. So when even if this dries up, unlike acrylic, right? Because with acrylic, if acrylic dries up, that's it, it's done. But here with watercolor, I can mist it with water or I can just add water with a brush and reactivate this totally dry paint right here, right? And I really like using the ceramic palettes because they don't stain. Sometimes your plastic palettes will stain. But there's a way that I've found to get the stain out of my plastic palettes, and that is I use a magic eraser. So there's a tip for you. If you have plastic palettes and they have stained colors in them, try using the magic eraser. That's those white sponges that you get in the grocery store because I found they take most of that color out. Okay, but if you have a ceramic palette, it's super easy to get the color out of there and change to another color in your ceramic palette. So that's working with tubes. The other way is to work with a palette that comes in pans. And so you can buy even professional paints in pans. So this is a set. Oh, it's so pretty. It's from Christy Rice, and I love working with this. Actually, both of these were done using the Christy Rice palette and then some additional colors from that I like this quinacridone magenta right here in my ceramic palette. So that's what I use to create these um, oh, you are welcome. Dan was saying thank you for giving him the information about the watercolor pencils. So this is Christy Rice's um, set. It came with a set of 12. There was enough room that I could pop an extra one in. So I put an extra, these are called half pans. I put an extra half pan here and an extra pan here to add my favorite Daniel Smith Cascade Green and Chinese white. Okay, for the palette. And then over here, there are little wells that she gives you in this little travel palette. And so I've actually squeezed my own colors from the tubes into here, the colors that I like to mix with and that I like to use often. So you can sort of customize what's in here by doing that. So I use her colors as well as I have some of my standards and favorites like this is a dioxazine purple, which is very dark. This is an ultramarine blue, which is a nice dark blue as well, because her blue in here is a little lighter than that, more like a cobalt blue. I actually put a little bit of black in mine because for things like, see underneath the eyes of the pupper here and in the nostrils, yeah, black does come in handy sometimes. And then I have a light purple, a light green, and in her set, the Christy Rice set, she has a fluorescent yellow, which is super fun to play with. If you look here, on this puppy, this is the fluorescent yellow right here. So it's super bright, right? Love that. But sometimes when you're color mixing, you want a more standard yellow. So this is a regular permanent yellow that I got. So that's the way that I customized her set with some other colors that I like to use, but getting them from the tube instead. All right. And then tonight we're going to work with the Koi watercolor set. So this is more of a, I wouldn't call this a professional set. This is more, they call it their travel set of 24 colors. And it's more of a let's play around and let's have fun. It's easy to travel with. You can see here, I do the color mixing here. They give you this extra tray. So it can come out and either sit on your table, or if you're outside, there are little holes right here that you can put it right there like that. And then There is a little finger ring underneath here. So you hold it. There you go. You hold it with the finger ring like that. And then if you're traveling, if you're outside, look at that. Look at all that mixing area there. And then all of these colors. And these, I believe, are would be considered quarter pans. I could be wrong. They may also be considered half pans. But these are little cakes. And I saw somewhere where you can buy a cake. Let me see if one of these will come out. I seem to recall somebody saying, oh, yeah, you can buy that cake and then put a new one in there. I'm having trouble getting it out. I'm not going to worry about it. But I had heard that you could buy just a single cake because if you look at my set, this color down here is called Paraline Green. It's a deep, 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 deep green, very dramatic. I love using that color, and so it's used up more than all the other colors in my set. And so eventually, when it's gone, I can either squeeze from a tube because I have a tube of Paraline Green, so I could squeeze my tube right into that spot to replenish it. Or I could check with the koi. Sakura makes koi, and I could check with them to see if I could buy just that cake. So you might not have known that you can buy just cakes of or pans of watercolor and then replace it in your sets. So it's always good to check with that. But this has so many colors, the 24 color set. I love it. It's a great one. Highly recommend for when you travel. It's just throw it in your bag and go. It comes with a water brush. So this is a water brush. And what's cool is they send it to you with a little stopper for the water brush so that you can travel with it because it doesn't fit into that spot when it's put together, but it will fit in as the two parts. So you've got the water reservoir here, and then here you've got the brush tip, right? And so you just pop off this right here and you screw this on like this. Oh, it's backwards. It's backwards from it's a Japanese water brush, I bet, because they screw them on backwards from the way we do. And now with the water in here, this is ready to go. This is pliable plastic, so you squeeze it, and then a little bit of water will come out the top, and then I don't know if you could see that, but it's wet. Yeah. And then you can go into your colors. Now you'll notice here that, um, do you see the green right here? This is a little sponge and this is a little sponge. So what you do is, let's say that I have this color green on my brush and I've been painting with it. And now I want to switch to another color. I can take this little sponge down here and I can wipe this, squeeze to get more water out, and I can wipe it on that little sponge, and that will get the color out of the tip of the brush, and you're ready to go to another color. And these little sponges, of course, this is re-wettable watercolor, so these little sponges can come out and be washed. Fabulous, right? Love this set. Love it. And that's what we're going to play with tonight to actually do our paintings. Let me see. Is there anything else I need to tell you? If you want to put shimmer, there are two things. There's shimmer and there's the white dot. So if you look at these eyes, you see the little white dot there? Now, I've been painting for a long time, so I actually preserved that white dot as I was painting. I had good brush control. But let's say that you don't have good brush control or you're just starting out, you can either use a masking fluid that I showed last week. So this has masking fluid in it. Where did I put that? It's not on my table. I apologize. It's the Pebeo masking fluid called drawing gum. You can put a little dot where you want to preserve the white and then do your painting and then remove it using a gum eraser or your fingertip. You can remove that latex and take it off, and that'll preserve that white of the paper. Another thing you can do is just paint away, and when you're done, my favorite to put white, those white dots in the eyes, or a quickie little highlight, is this Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. So it's made for graphic artists and designers. And Love shimmer, right? It's made for graphic designers and it's specifically for adding the white back in. So if I had messed up and I didn't preserve the white, let's say I wanted to put more dots. Sometimes, especially in anime, you see they'll have like a big white area and then one or two little dots next to it. So this is what they're using right here is the Dr. P.H. Martins. It's actually much thicker. It's thicker than a watercolor, and you can pick it up with a brush that's water soluble, and you can put those dots back in there. So that's my secret weapon for that. And then, of course, if you want to add the shimmer, then I always show you the starry colors from Kuretake now, Gansai Tambi. Yeah. And see the white right here? They call that white gold. So you can take any color of watercolor that you have. You can pick up some of this white gold and then add it in with your watercolor. And now you have a pink shimmer, a blue shimmer, an orange shimmer, whatever color shimmer you want. Okay. So that's one way of doing it. There are some other nice ones here too. Plenty of golds if you come this way. And now I do want to let you know I bought it and I'm going to be doing a review of it or showing it on a swatching on YouTube, and then I will start including it in my live workshops. Okay, but it is the Gansai Tambi pearlescent colors, so it's a whole set like this, but it's bright jewel colors that are sparkly. So I can't wait to crack that one open and then be able to share that with you later. But those are the two special effects, the putting the white back in after the watercolor is dried. And we're going to do that with the kitty cat tonight when we go over the table. And then the other is the shimmer. Um, so if I wanted to add some shimmery colors into my artworks after, what I like to do is I like to do the color and let the color dry and then decide where I want to pop in a little bit of that shimmer. Um, but that's what I would do with these. Now, of course, the last thing is our brushes. So my favorite brushes are the Princeton Velvet Touch. That's what we use pretty much every week. So I like to work with this is a size 8, right? No, 10 and 6. Those are the two that I use the most, the size 10 and the size 6. You see that snappy top? It's synthetic, and then it has like an incredible point to it. Fabulous. And so I love these because when you're getting in on the eye for your pet, it helps to have that sharp tip so that you can get the watercolor right where you want it. If I have a brush that has a rounded tip, like you see how this one has a rounded tip to it, it's not as easy to get in. Number 6 is your favorite, right? Yes, yes. I thought it might be the 8. I have the 8 floating around here somewhere too. It just depends. If I'm working in a small space, I use the 6 a lot. So if I'm working on something, this is a postcard size, then absolutely I'm using the 6. If now when I in the background here, I wanted to put a bunch of water for the first layer. This has 2 layers. Actually, it has 3 layers of paint. Then if I want to cover a larger area just with clean water on a small artwork, then I'll use the bigger brush. But actually, the brush that I used for that is the Christy Rice brush. So Christy Rice has these brush sets that come in these really cute pouches like this. What does this one say? Fear has no place here. And art for joy's sake, I think is the other one. Cute little bags with her artwork on them. And you support American artists, yeah. And so she has developed her own brush line, and this is her size 12 round. Look at that sucker. Oh my gosh, it is beautiful. So I like using this one to just put the water in and then go back with the one that has a little tiny tip and do the detail work with the tiny tip brushes. But I love her sets. Like here's another one from her set, which is a detail brush. Yeah, they're fabulous. So definitely recommend those. Um, and I have a set of Aqua Elite brushes coming. This is Princeton, the Princeton Brush Company. and they've made a new set of brushes. Well, it was new about 2 or 3 years ago, called the Princeton Aqua Elite. And so I won a set over the Christmas holidays. So it'll be coming soon. And then when I receive it, I will do a review video for y'all on YouTube. But it's also by the Princeton Company, and it has a black handle instead of this pretty cherry looking handle. But those are the types of brushes that I like to use. So if you want to do watercolor and you don't have these sets of watercolor brushes, I highly recommend that you get proper watercolor brushes, because um, it makes a difference in how easy it is to paint. So if you're using student grade brushes, um, I find a lot of times you're not going to be able to get the precise placement and crisp lines that you would expect. Like around here, you see how I put this blue line around the dogs to kind of offset the face? Well, you need you need a good brush to be able to do that. Now, somebody asked, do you like the King art brushes? Yes, actually, I do like the King art brushes. Let me see. I think I have one here. I think I mentioned to y'all before that I have like millions of brushes. So this is just one of many brush sets. Let me see. Let me see. You know what else is surprising? I'm going to blow your mind. This is a brush. Oh, this happens to be the King Art brush, and it is very good. I do like this brush. I use it a lot. But where is that other one I was going to show you? Okay. It's not in that pot. That's why I wanted to show you the Master's Touch brushes. So this is a watercolor. Oh, hello. See, here's my pupster, and she's in her little pink coat because it's cool in here. So yes, I do like the King Art brushes. They do work well. It's a good synthetic brush. Have you used a scrubber? I can't live without my scrubber, Florida Glass Girl. That's another question. This is the scrubber, and guess what? It is a Princeton Velvet Touch, and it has a nice stiff bristles here at the top, and that's my scrubber. Have to have it. It comes in two sizes, a 3/8 and I think a 1 3/8 and 1/2, I think something like that. But yeah, absolutely must have one of the scrubbers. And then this is a Master's Touch brush. So these come from Hobby Lobby. That's their brand, Master's Touch. Oh my gosh. They're actually terrific. So when you're in Hobby Lobby and you're looking at the brush section, look where it says watercolor. It'll say, I think, watercolor and acrylic. And these brushes are there, and they are fantastic. I love them. I've tried them, and I can definitely recommend them. They do work very well. Let's see. Ah, so Florida Glass Girl says she's learned about both the King Art and the scrubber brush from Gene Rizzo. Have I heard of him? You know what? That name is very familiar, but I am going to write it down. I appreciate the share. So, Gene, I will make sure, if I'm not already subscribed to Gene, that I will subscribe. So let's say Rizzo. See, Gene Rizzo. And I assume that's watercolor Florida Glass Girl. Is that right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I do mix media, all different kinds of stuff. So I will look him up. He's awesome. Okay, cool. I will definitely check him out. I appreciate the heads up. But yeah, these Master's Touch brushes, if it's, I've stood in front of the Master's Touch brush display and been like, "Ooh, I'll take that one and I'll take that one." They have a really nice cat's tongue. Um, Let me see. This is a filbert, it's called. Oh, this is the King Art filbert. So yes, the King Art and the Master's Touch. I've used both of them, and I do like them a lot. So um, definitely can recommend those brands that you can pick up. And they'll be great for if you're beginner to intermediate, I'd say. If you are wanting to lean toward professional, then I would do the Princeton. And actually, intermediate also is the beginner to intermediate, very friendly is the Christy Rice brushes. All right. This is okay. I'm going to show you a couple of like really fancy dancy professional brushes. This one right here is called a mop brush. See how big it is? So when you are working on a large watercolor and you want to flood it with a lot of water in an area, then this is the Princeton Neptune. Absolutely gorgeous quill style, meaning it has this at the top here. And it's a mop brush, so it can hold lots of water and fabulous. And then here's the biggest one that I have. This one is a castanet. Is that right? Castanet. Castanet. Um, there it is. So see, it's even bigger. And that's a professional brush as well for large scale watercolors. So yeah, I have those right here too. And those are, you start getting into those kind of professional brushes. And I also have a whole box. Where's my box? Huh. No, oh, I know it's in the other room. I have a whole box of natural hair sable brushes. What are they? The Kolinsky sable. And one brush can be $130. I mean, they're like crazy. And whenever I find them at a rummage sale or something like that, I will pick those up because they are a dream to work with. Okay, let's go ahead and go over top of the table and get started with our projects. Love, love, love them. Um, love our projects. And so, what I need you to do then is I'm going to go over top of the table. And, oh, hold on a second. He had, let me see what she's saying. Give him a price. Oh my gosh. Florida Glass Girl is saying that a friend gave him, I'm not sure who, I think the gentleman Gene Rizzo you were mentioning gave him a brush and it had a $450 price tag on it. He doesn't use it. I know, I know. I mean, you can find a brush for $5 and it works great. And you can find a brush for $450 and they're so precious, right? That's why all my Kolinsky brushes are in the sable. They grow the sable animal to use the hair for the brushes in Europe, Germany, Russia. So I have the same size brush. One is German Kolinsky and one is Russian Kolinsky, and the tips of them look different, and even though they're the same brush size, and they paint differently. Isn't that crazy? I I prefer the Russian one for the kind of work that I do, but you never know. You have to try them and see. But yeah, I picked those up for like a song and a dance. And yeah, so definitely keep your eye out if there is a brush and you see the word Kolinsky on it, then pick it up because in general they're very expensive. And I have a special box just for my Kolinsky sable brushes. When I had my big art studio in Fort Lauderdale and my children were still in school, one of my daughters was in like high school advanced art, right? No surprise there. And she ended up um, I would give her my good quality paints. So she would get core paints and watercolors and golden paints and acrylics to take to school with her, right? And her teacher was like, "Oh man, you are one lucky girl." But the one thing none of my kids were allowed to touch was my Kolinsky sable brushes because they're only for watercolor. And if a kid doesn't understand the value of them, they can mess them up for me. So that was a no go. They're in a special box and they were always hidden away, so the kids could not get to them. I said you can use all these other brushes, but you're not allowed to use those. Okay, we're going to go up over top of the table. Oh, fantastic! Now, before we get started with the actual painting, I did want to let you know something else that I added to my whatnot buy now area. And if you're on YouTube, you can pop over to whatnot if you want to take advantage of being able to make a purchase on something. Um, they my paintings are for sale on Whatnot. So all you have to do if you're on YouTube is scan the QR code at the top of the screen or go into the description of the video and there's a link there. You can click and come over to Whatnot. On Whatnot, I have added a couple of new items to the store, and it's these little watercolor sets. So it's under art supplies. If you go to the buy now in Whatnot, and you type in art supplies in the search bar, you will find I just added. Um, this is a little tiny tin, so I'll show you. It's a used tin, but it's a little tiny tin, and I have these empty half pans, they're called empty half pans, and they come with little magnets. And so I can fill these half pans. And you can, if you look under art supplies, you will see that I will customize a palette for you with either 6 or 10. So this one would hold, right now it's got 14 in there. So this is the giveaway for tonight, but I can customize a set of 6 in a small palette like this, or I can also customize a set of 10. You remember I said I take it out of the tube and I put it into there. And these will actually be approximately half full, meaning they're quarter pans. These little pans are half pans if they're full, but I fill them a half to 2/3. And then, so that's considered a quarter pan of professional watercolors. And you can have whatever colors you want. You can tell me, or you can let me decide for you. So you can either order the set of 6 and it'll come with a little swatch page like that, or you can get a set of 10. So there's 5 and 5. It'll come with a swatch page as well, but this will come with 2 extra empties. So you get a total of 12, um, where there'll be 10 colors and then 2 empties for you to fill with whatever you want. Or you can order the tin with all the empties, and the empties will have little magnets on the bottom so that they'll stay. They'll stay. So if you get an empty, you'll get the tin, and these are just like Altoid tins or mint tins. And then you'll get 14 of these empty half pans. And they'll come with the little magnets on them so that you can decide what paints you want to put in them. All right, so that's 3 new items that are now available. Oh, thanks for the hearts. And thank you, the Hobbit and the Fox, for sharing. I appreciate it over on Whatnot. But yes, these are now available on Whatnot. And you can let me choose the colors for you, like I did for the whoever's going to win this tonight. Or you can tell me what colors you're looking for, and I will see what I have for you. Let me show you what my collection looks like. Oh my gosh. And most of my paints came from a lady who passed away, and the husband gave them to me, and I'm so grateful. And now I love sharing them with other people. So this is my bin of paints. So probably 2/3 of that came from the lady who passed away, who was a amazing watercolorist. And then I've added a lot more paints to it since then of my own. But yeah, so I will customize a palette for you if you like. And that is in Whatnot, under the little house, go to buy now and type in art supplies. And then you will see the various art supplies I have available. And these little watercolor kits are going to be in there. Okay. Woohoo. So let me put that away for the moment. There we go. And this one, I just can't stop looking at these colors. So I'm going to tell you what the colors are real quick. The first one here is lemon yellow. This one is gamboge, or gamboge, I guess it's pronounced gamboge. And then this one is Paroline red. So you see how dark, dark bright that red is right there. The next one is quinacridone magenta. So the perylene red is an opaque color, and the quinacridone magenta is a transparent color. So they'll all color mix together, but you'll find that if you use a quinacridone, which is a transparent color, you get cleaner color mixes often. And then my one of my favorite colors here is the cobalt teal. And then this one is a classic ultramarine blue right there. So I put together an excellent little set for somebody. If it's, especially if it's your first time with watercolor, oh my gosh, beautiful little set for you. I'm excited to see who wins that. Oh, love that. Florida Glass Girl says, thank you. Thank you. All right. So let me make sure that we are going to be in frame. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work with this book, the 15-minute watercolor masterpieces, and we're going to do the tabby cat out of here. Okay. So, like I said, this book will be bookmarked, or the link to the book will be bookmarked in the description of the video on YouTube. And so let's grab these watercolors right here. Oh, again, this is the Sakura Koi 24 set travel watercolors. Okay. And our mixing area. Let me see, is that on frame? Yeah, actually, I like this watercolor, a water container, sorry, because it has the tulip shape up here and I can rest my brush on there. You can get up to 3 brushes on it at one time. It's awesome. And so not only do I use it in my studio, it collapses so you can travel with it. It's awesome by Faber-Castell. So there'll be a link to that in the video. It comes in other colors too, which is so cool. I got my sister-in-law a pink one, but it also comes in turquoise, green, and I think black. So those are cool, right? All right, I'm looking for the piece of paper that I need. I already cut it to the right size so that I'll have the right paper. There it is. Beep. Okay, so this is what we're going to use for the kitty cat. What's up, little lady? See, my baby's in here whining at me because she's a whiner. Trust me, her bowls are full. She's got water. She's got 2 types of food, but she just likes to come in and see what mama's up to. Right? Okay, so what I did is this is the smooth watercolor paper I had mentioned. So this is the Fabriano hot press, like this, and it is smooth. So this is a piece of the smooth hot press watercolor paper from Fabriano right there. And what I've done is I've cut it into smaller pieces. And so that's what I did max on. And now I have a piece right here. Now you may notice that there are some lines on here. Those are pencil marks. And what I've done is I take my pieces of paper and I put a mat over top of them so that I know, and then I mark it. I make lines, and then that tells me, okay, if I want this piece of artwork to fit on inside, this is an 8x10 mat with a 5x7 hole. This is slightly larger than 5x7, so it will fit in there. And I make the little pencil marks so I know where to keep the center of interest for my artwork. Okay, that's just a little studio trick. And that's what I did here with Maxi. But I found that with Maxi, when I took the picture, it's a big picture, right? And when I lined it up with the transfer paper, I didn't quite put it in the center, but that's okay. It's still, I'm going to show you, this will fit. It still fits in there beautifully. So here is a mat. And there's Max. Oh, Max. So see, Max fits in there. Yay. It'll look nice in a mat. Okay. And Max is available for sale if you want him tonight, but I don't have him in the catalog yet. But if you say, oh, I'd like to buy Max, just let me know and I will add it in, because that's the beauty of working with Whatnot, right? You can add in items on the fly. So this is going to be the kitty cat inside the lines here. And let's look at that one. And what's nice is she gives you an illustration here of what it's going to look like, or the kind of where you're going with the project. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up in front of me, but we're going to start with what is called wet on wet. Okay, that's the technique to get. You see how soft the lines are there, or the watercolor? That's the wet and wet technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the book right up here in front of me. Brr, come on, so I can just see, have a bit of a guide, right, of what I'm working on. And then so here's the paper. I'm going to use a larger brush. So I'm doing wet into wet. The first thing I have to do is get my paper wet. Now, that doesn't mean wet the whole paper. That what I'm going to be doing is clean water, and I'm going to get the paper wet in the area where I'm going to be depositing the paint. So not the whole thing, just the area where I want to deposit the paint. Whoop, like right in the middle here. Just clean water on a big bushy brush. There we go. So we got some water in there. And then the trick is to get your paint in there while it's still somewhat wet. So we're going to be working with this sort of a light brown color. I usually will start with the lighter colors and then move to the darker colors, but she's got, so in the beginning, it doesn't look like much. We're just sort of making marks. We're laying down the background. And it's like, what the heck, Tristina? What is that? But that's the point, is in the beginning, it doesn't have to look like the animal yet. Okay, I'm going to grab, this is probably yellow ochre right here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow ochre. It's okay to sort of combine your colors together. And she's got it. So it sort of looks like the head is going to be in this area. And then she's got the fluffy fur all over the place here. Lovely. Fantastic. So you may look at that and go, what the heck are you doing? But trust me, we'll get there. So a lot of times, yeah, LOL, right? Florida Glass Girl. A lot of times, um, that first layer just looks like a hot mess. It's so true. And that was true of what happened here too when I was working on this pupster. That background, hot mess. But it doesn't matter. If the color's too dark, you can lift some of the color back out with just plain water. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. So I'm dipping in, getting some clear water on here. And if I say, ooh, this area is a little too dark, I want to lift some of that out. Now's like the perfect time to lift it out before it's gotten too dry. So you see how you can lift that color right back out of there. So if you're using the proper kind of paper that's designed for watercolor, not mixed media paper, because I do sometimes in a pinch use mixed media paper for doing working with watercolor, but it's not designed for watercolor. So it's not as easy to pick the color back up like this and deposit the color um, in your paper towel like that. So I'm picking up some of this color because I see that she left a lot of the middle of it with no color in it. And then this is kind of going around the face like that. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to lift up a little bit more because some of that yellow got down into the red further than I wanted. Right? So this is what I call the push and pull of watercolor, where you can put the color down, evaluate, and relift the color because it's rewettable. Ah, it's a miracle. Which the fact that it's rewettable, I hated when I was a beginning artist. I hated it. I thought it was terrible. What do you mean the paint lifts back up? No, this is horrible. But now I've grown to understand it and love it. So it's it's just a matter of just keep at it. Keep at it. If you see something, it looks like fun, get yourself a book like the book that I'm sharing with you now, which is 15-minute watercolor masterpieces. And I'll have it linked in the video. It is just, let somebody who's a professional walk you through it. Okay. All right. So now what I noticed, and where I'm going to introduce that scrubber that Florida Glass Girl asked about. Hey, Critter Chops, welcome in Hawaiian Village. Hello, hello. We're doing watercolor animals. So right now we're doing a watercolor tabby cat. And what I want you to see that little dot right there. It, I'm not normally I wouldn't worry about that because I'm going to spatter the background. I love doing the spattered backgrounds like this little pupster right here. But um, let's say that you didn't want it there. While it's still wet, before it's set into the paper, you're going to take your scrubber brush. So this is the Princeton. This is called Willow's Blender. A lot of times they're called a blender, but it's a little stiffer. The hairs are stiffer. So I'm going to put it in clean water. Now, I generally don't go straight onto the page. I tap off some of the water here, and then I'm gonna scrub, scrub, scrub. This is another reason why you want watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is designed to put paint down and lift it back up. So I just scrubbed that little spot, and now the little spot is gone. It's a miracle. And it's just a scrubber brush. Oh my gosh. So this will definitely be linked in the description of the video because I can't live without my scrubber brush. It's phenomenal. So there's the background for the kitty cat. Now, often when you're doing splashy backgrounds like that, you want them to dry. But let's see, we're going to go to the next page. And yeah, it's saying just put more, do a little bit more of the hair and throw in the ears. So let's go ahead and throw in the ears. So this is kind of a tawny color background, right? They're saying use some brown and create a little bit more in the way of hair. So I'm going to grab a little bit more, a little bit of brown here. Let's see. Okay, let's get a little bit more of the brown up. So we're going to brownify this a little bit and we're going to bring the color out just a little bit more. So we're just giving a little bit more dimension to the hair. Okay, like that. Like I said, I will be linking the book on the in the description of the video on YouTube after the workshop is over. Okay, there we go. And what I noticed is the head is small and the rest of the body kind of goes out a lot further. So I'm gonna bring this out just a little more fluffy out this way for right now. Okay, again, looks like a hot mess. That's okay. It's all right. So this is the size 6 Velvet Touch Princeton. So now we're gonna go in and we're gonna put the little ears. We're gonna put the ears on. So I think what I want to do is I don't want them to be too dark, too dark. That brown is like a little bit dark. So I'm going to combine this sort of rusty color with some of the brown. And that's what this palette over here is for. And I had shown you that it comes with 2 palettes actually. This comes with it as well, which normally if I'm traveling, I stick this palette over here so I have plenty of room to do my color mixing. Can you see all of that on there? I'm just moving it around to be sure you can see all of that. Okay. So I actually have 3 waters in front of me because I'm a little crazy, but it make sure when you're doing watercolor, you have at least 2 waters in front of you because you want to have a water for the dirty brush. And then you want to dip it after that into a clean water, and that'll help you keep your brush pretty clean. Okay, so we're going to bring this. I'm gonna fluff out the face a little bit like this, as well as I'm gonna put the little ears in. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Okay, so we're just gonna do little triangles, a little triangle here. So what I find is that with your animals, it tends to be the one that's closest to the middle is more straight. And then the one under here is a little more angled. But, I use my own pets as reference often. I just don't have a cat. So, because I'm not a catty girl, I'm not a cat girl. Okay, let me do this a little bit more. So what you're doing is you're just throwing in, and now I'm adding a little bit more water because I want it to be very washy. What you'll find is if you add more water to your brush like that, then you can get your colors to be a little more subdued. They won't dry quite as bright. Okay. But again, don't worry about it. If you put some color in there and you don't want it in there, just use a clean brush and lift it back out. Okay. So now what you're going to want to do is we're going to want to wait a little bit for this to dry. Now, the middle part is most of the way dry, and it's just the ears up here and the outside that's not. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and put the face in, actually. Know what I'm doing? I'm just sort of building up a little bit of like, that's the face right there. Okay. So what she's doing in this book, and the author is Anna, let me see, Anna Koliadic or Koliadich. Okay. But like I said, the link will be in the description of the video on YouTube. If you're on Whatnot, you can just go to YouTube, because afterwards I go and I put a link to the videos, or you can just go to my website. A couple of days in, I post the video and the links to the art supplies. So on Whatnot, I sell the finished artwork, not the art supplies. But in my articles, you can get links to it. Here is my website, deetsart.com, and then Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. This is kind of long. You can just type in Tristina, an artist, and you'll find me. You'll see my smiling face. And these workshops are under the live tab on my channel. And I wanted to say thank you to the folks that are over on YouTube tonight as well as Whatnot. Thanks for joining. Okay, so this is a nice wishy-washy kitty cat. Let's put in some green for the eyes. This is what she has there. Um, Now I'm actually going to start with a black. So I'm going to do the black for the middle of your iris. So let's see where these eyes are. Right about here. So I'm going to do the black like this. If you wanted to, you could preserve the white at this time, like with a nice pointy tip brush like this. Let's do that. Let's see if I do this, then I've got a little bit of white preserved in there, right? But we can also go in later and add it using the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White secret weapon of graphic artists. Okay, now we're going to put some green around that because this cat has green eyes. I usually start with a lighter green and then I deepen the green with another layer after it's dry. Okay, so we're just going to do this and put the green around the iris. Whoop. It's okay if they touch and they sort of integrate. Integrate. It's okay. It's okay if they integrate. You can always pick up the color later, right? Actually, what I do sometimes is I'll come in later, um, and for the blacks, often I will come in later and use a micron pen or an acrylic pen, and I will add in the blacks later with something like that. You don't always have to use the black watercolor if you're not comfortable with it. Okay, and then we're going to build a nose. A nose. So in order to build the nose, we're just going to use some of the brown and we're going to sort of draw a line. So kitty cats have, you know what? This is kind of dark. Let's see. I want to make sure there's plenty of water in there so it's not so dark. So we're going to just do like a little nose here. And then we're going to do a little nose, the side of the nose here. So this is a fanciful cat. This is not, we're not doing realism here, okay? So I'm just gonna sort of, I'm building the little nose. And then we're gonna put, oh, again, we're gonna go in with some black and we're gonna build some dots. So we're gonna have a few little dots right here, right? And a few little dots over here. This is under the nose. And then we're gonna throw in some whiskers. We can always perfect this later, okay? But make sure that this area that we're putting the whiskers is already dry. Yay! There's whiskers on that side now. Oftentimes, because I'm right-handed, oftentimes I have to turn my artwork, and it's okay. I've I've had some teachers be like, "Don't turn your art, turn your hand," and I'm like, "Come on, we don't have to, we don't have to do that. We can go ahead and just see." Now that was a lot. That was too much black. So I'm gonna lift the black up. Woo! It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay. See, that's why a lot of artists don't like to deal with black watercolor paint. They prefer to deal with black, like just come in with a black marker later. Because if I try to lift this up right now, see that little blob right there? It's not gonna come up. That's why people like to use their markers to add those details after the fact. Okay, but we're just gonna go with it. So now I'm gonna add in, I'm gonna come down here and add in a few more fluffies in the hair while the rest of this area is drying. So this is sepia, the color that I'm in right now. Wait a minute. Oh, that's really dark. Okay, so this is a sepia color, which is a super dark. No, I know what it is. It's Prussian blue. Okay, this color right here is Prussian blue. I don't recall on the box whether they tell you what the colors are, but I know enough from working with color. That right there is Prussian blue or Payne's gray, probably Payne's gray, super dark blue. Okay, we got a nice brown going here, and we're gonna put in small tufts of hair. Okay, so we're just gonna, so that's why I start with the lighter colors and then I come back in here and I work and I add some of the darker colors. So you've got some nice layering going on, right? And then let's do a few more down here. And the nice thing about doing these kind of projects is that you get, um, it teaches you how your brushes work and how to control them. And I think that's fabulous. Fantastic. I'm going to put a little bit underneath the face because, of course, it's going to be a little bit darker underneath the face here. All right. So we're just adding in a little more body. And remember, this part right here was dry already. So now we're going to go back to the nose. Let's build that little nose. Now I want to put a little bit of like pink on the end of the nose just because. Oh, here's some nice pink right here, right? See how I'm able to reactivate that color? Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of pink in there for the nose. Oh my goodness. What a cute kitty. Okay. And then I'm going to do the black parts. Ah, black. Oh my gosh. No, let's not use black. Let's do the dark brown instead for the rest of the nose and the mouth. So what's nice is she has beautiful illustrations here that I'm following along with. So I'm going to sort of build the bottom of the nose here. And the nose is almost like an eight. So it goes around like this and then back. Okay. So you kind of have a little 8 figure going there. And then we're going to put a little triangle, right? Bring it down. And then here's the little mouth, little kitty cat mouth, because we're doing an illustration. We're not doing realism here, y'all. Okay, there we go. So now we've got a cute little nose going. Oh my goodness. Now I want to darken the eyes a little bit. And I want to put a little more hair up here. Maybe we'll do the darker hair up here since we have the dark already. And I'm just sort of doing it in the direction that the hair would normally fall. There we go. So we've got some at the top there. I'm leaving a lot of the face area light. You see how this is really white in here? All right, we're going to darken up that green a little bit. Now, the green looks like it's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to take a dry paper towel and I'm just going to, I'm not going to move it. I'm just going to lay it directly on top of where the eyes are like that to pick up some of that color. So see the green there? That's what was not dry yet. And now I'm going to go in here and now I'm noticing that the reason this doesn't look like a cat is because the eyes pupil is round and our kitty cat's pupils round? No. Ah, so they're cat's eye shape. That's why this cat doesn't look right because the cat doesn't have cat's eye shaped pupils. So we're just going to add the cat's eye shaped pupils in there. Don't worry about the white. We're going to come back and put the white in with the Doc Martin bleed proof white once it's dry. And then I see some questions over on YouTube. Zaynep said, can you tell me the brand of watercolor you used? So what I'm working with here right now is the Sakura Koi 24 travel set. And it comes with a water brush as well. Okay. That's the set I'm using right now. I love this set for either beginners or even for myself when I'm traveling, if I just want to goof around with watercolor. Um, I don't recall on the box. I do have the box here. Hold on a second. It's underneath something. Let me see if I can grab the box. And okay, this is the box. See where it says Koi watercolors. It will be, it's the pocket field sketch box, and it will be linked in the description of the video on YouTube later tonight. After the video is done, I go in and I update the description and I add the links for you. Okay. But that's what it is. And then remember how I said the eyes here are a little bright? I want to make the eyes a little bit more, a little darker. So that was the light green that I used the first time. Now I'm going into the darker green and I'm just going to come around it a little bit more with some darker green. So it's deepening. I always start with the light colors and then deepen, deepen, deepen by just adding layers. Okay, so that just makes it a little more intense. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually, uh, the author shows putting black around the eyes in order to define the eye sockets. I think I'm going to do that with a marker after the kitty cat is more dry. But I want to define those ears just a little bit more, and I want to put like little hairs on the ears. Okay, I like to have the little hairs, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So see this one that I did of my other dog. See how I have little filament hairs there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that small detail brush from Christy Rice that comes in one of her brush sets. And I'm going to pick up some of this nice brown right here. And I'm just going to dip it in a little bit of the darker brown. So I have a similar color to what's going on here. And then using this nice fine tip, hey, vibrant southern wind, welcome in, welcome in. I'm gonna add some hairs to the ears because I like to add hairs to the ears. 'Cause they get so cute. It's so cute for them to have little hairs in there. Sometimes it's those little details that brings your animal to life. So there's some of the hairs around the ear there. And then now I'm going to turn it because I'm right-handed. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to add some more hairs in here. So you want to just boop, 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 like put the brush down and then flick it up to be able to get those cute little tiny hairs coming off. Okay, so our kitty cat has a few hairs coming off the ears. Cute. Let's just get something on the end there. Nice. Oh, our little fur babies, right? So there's little hairs on the end. All right, so let's go to, now I'm gonna let that dry, and then I would come back in with the black marker to finish off the eyes and to put the little white dots with the bleed proof white. But we have to let that eye area dry first before that will work. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside and we're going to work on this one, which is Little Miss Becca, my doggie. So this outline is on my website. It is available right now. I went ahead and I put up an article on my blog where the downloads are available for this. You can just click on the picture. It should take you to a new page and then you can download it. And I drew this by hand from a picture of my pupster. So hold on a second. Let me get that photo so you can see. So here's the photo of my doggie, and I hand drew it out, and then I took a picture of the outline. This is just in pencil, and I included that on my website. So that's deetsart.com. You can go there and download that if you like, if you want to try this yourself at home. Um, so what I like to do with the pet portraits, and we're going to do something similar to her cousin, Lacey, who's already passed away. I'm going to put Lacey over here so I can see Lacey. I like to start with the eyes because the eyes are going to be several layers. And so we're going to do the eyes first. All right. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. I'm going to lift up this book and move it out of the way because I'm going to need that later after that kitty cat portrait is dry. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up a little bit more so that you can see it. Yes. Make sure y'all can see that. Yes, you can. Okay, cool. So I like to start with the eyes, and her eyes are brown. So I'm going to take my size 6 Princeton. This is a 9 by 12. And I'm going to go ahead. I always have a paper towel in my hand or right next to me because I'm constantly tap, tap, tapping like that. So we're going to start with a light, like a yellow ochre. So even though their eyes are brown, I'm going to start with the yellow ochre. And let me see here. So I'm going to put the yellow ochre here. So if you want to do brown eyes, if I were doing something more like a yellow cat's eye, I would use a brighter color than this yellow ochre. But because her eyes are brown, I find the yellow ochre works great. So there we go. This is the colored part of her eye. And I'm leaving the center for what? For the black, right? Now, she is so old. So somebody say, how old is she? She is so old that if you actually look at the picture, you see that her eyes are glazed, like her pupil is huge. And yeah, she's old. And she has cataracts. She doesn't see very well, but we're going to assume we're going to do her eyes from her younger days. Okay. So that's what I do. I leave that area for the black for later. So there's the yellow ochre. And the interesting thing is the color doesn't look so dark on here. It looks a little bit lighter, but when it dries, it's going to get darker. Okay, so let's go like this over here. So I like to be a little more careful with the eyes, and so that's why I do the eyes first in general. Oop, let's just do that. There we go. Now I'm going to be putting at least one more layer of color on the eyes, and so that's why I'm just starting with the yellow ochre. There we go. Boop. And what's nice about these brushes is, woof, the tips of the brushes are nice and sharp. This is the Princeton Velvet Touch. I'm using the size 6 right now. And wow, there is a nice snappy tip on that. Okay, so here is the first layer of the eyes, and then I can go to other areas and work on them. So the next thing I'm going to do, the nose, I'm going to work on the nose. So I'm going to take my larger brush. This is the Christy Rice brush, and I like to use it kind of like a mop. I'm going into clean water, and I'm just going to put clean water all over the nose area. So everywhere the nose is. And the other area that's going to be dark is down here below the nose. So this area right here. So I will bring it up and show you which ones. So I just flooded with water. Remember, I'm working on watercolor paper, so it'll take the water. And I did this area down here and the nose right here. And I'm going to be putting some blue in there. So I'm going to put that away. Ooh, nope, I'm going to go back to this one because it's um, for doing washes. So I have a light blue here. I have this, and then an ultramarine blue, which is a dark blue, and then a medium blue. So I've got light, medium, and dark blue. All right. So I'm going to start with the light blue, and I'm just going to flood the whole area here with a light blue. So just like with the kitty cat, where we just flooded the area with paint, that's what I'm doing here with the pupster. I'm just flooding the area with paint. All right. And then we're going to be building more drama later. There we go. And notice that the paint will stay where you put the water. So you don't have to worry about the paint spreading if you've only put the water in a certain area. And I want the water to spread. I want the paint color to spread out and just give me a light version. And that's why it's good to just drop it into a whole lot of water. Okay, like that. Now, actually, there is a little bit of darkness underneath the nose here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of it right here with the brush. It's a little bit dark under the nose. Okay, sort of like that. And so that was using this big sort of wash brush. Now, let's go to her coat. What you'll notice that I'm doing is I'm working in different areas that are not going to be touching each other. That's what I'm trying to do so that this can begin to dry before I come into this area here. So we're going to go down here to her coat. And her coat, it's a little girl. So she has a pink coat. And now to get pink, I think this is a magenta. Yeah. So this is a magenta, but the magenta is way too dark for our first layer. So I can solve that two ways. One way is that I can put a lot more water in there and that will make it more pink. or I can grab some of the white. So there, this set has a white in it, this field set. Just bear in mind that the white is going to lend a little bit of opaqueness to the color. But now I've got a pink, and I'm going to add a bunch of water to it because I'm doing the first layer, right? And you don't have to do the exact colors that are in the picture. If you have a, if you want a purple coat or you want a brown coat, feel free to do that. This is just getting a layer down. Now, the color's going down a little bit dark, and that's because I did not add a coat of water first. So right now, I just grabbed a bunch of water and I'm making this wet. And then I can drop in a little more color. There we go. And then I'll get some more color. And I want to make this part down here just a little bit darker. And I want to make the part right here where it comes together a little bit darker. So now we've got her pink coat going. She's so cute. Okay, nice. And then this part over here, I'm going to just lay in, that is like a fur. If I show you here, it's a faux fur, like a faux sheepskin, but you can make it any color you want. So I'm going to take a little bit of this sort of gamboge color, that sort of yellow, and I'm going to drop that yellow in to the background and just very wishy-washy, lots of water, lots and lots of water. Okay, just to get some color down. Now, this is a colorful doggy. So she's not going to be, all white. She's a little boring, all white. So we're going to start doing this, right? We need to build a background color there or sets of colors. Now you'll notice in the drawing, I actually used a pencil and I put a little bit of the shading in. So that's a trick you can do to remind you where to put your shading, okay? So right now, lots of water, and I'm going to go in on the ears like this. And I'm just going to get the doggy face. So I'm going to throw some water all over her here. Rip. I'm going around the eye. I don't want the water to get on the eye. I'm just trying to do the rest of her body so that we can come in with some other colors. There we go. Isn't it interesting? And it is important to use a watercolor paper. That's why a lot of artists are like, you should use a 100% water, cotton paper. Like, okay, whatever. Um, because the 100% cotton paper really will take lots of beating, lots of water layers like this. Okay, so I just got that ear over there. I'm getting this area around this eye, the area around the other eye. I just want to soak the paper to start. And now I can decide what, I'm still using the big brush because I'm working on her fur. Okay. So let's do, I like the pink ears. So I will continue with this like bright pink right here. Brew. And the nice thing is when you put the color in, it just explodes. If you have plenty of water on there, it's so cool. So cool the way it explodes. So I'm doing, let's see, what color is this? Purple. So we'll bring the purple over here because we're doing fun watercolors. Okay, the reason I'm doing purple over here and lighter colors over here is because I'm going to assume that the light is coming from over here. And so this side of her face is going to be a little bit lighter, and then it's going to turn darker. What is this color right here? I think this is more of a true red. No, it's just more of a magenta. Okay, good transition color. So we have the cranberry, then a magenta, and then purple. So that's sort of the order that I'm working in. Oops. Yeah, no calls right now. Okay. So that's what this is supposed to be relaxing and fun. So just have some fun with the colors. You can go back. This is just putting in the first layer. You can go back and we're going to build more layers and blend more colors. So just have fun with that first layer, okay? And let's see. I want to put a little bit more of this in here. Let the colors flow. Now, because this is also part of her body, I want to darken it a little bit because it's going to be sort of behind her, right? We want it in the distance. So I'm going to mix that cranberry, the magenta, and I'm going to mix it with some of the purple. So I'm going to darken it a little bit, but it's a combination of the two. So I'm just laying it in here. Now, what I did with my other pupster picture, I'll show you in a moment, was I added some blue right here at the line where the head met the body. So do you see that? Where the head meets the body, I like to use a line. You can either do that with a marker or you can do it with your paint. Either way. Sometimes it's easier to do it with a marker afterwards if you're not as confident with your paint. Okay, let's add just a little more purple to that. And then I'm going to do this little bit down here, right? Because that's her body, but it's sort of in the background and it's in the shadow. Yay. Okay. And then this area here is closest to us. And so it's kind of going to be the lightest, which means I'm going to use lots of water and dip back into my paints. Isn't this fun, y'all? I just love. Oh, let's make it a little orange. What the heck? We'll add a little bit of like orangey yellow. Yes, I just add all kinds of colors everywhere. And we're going to use lots of water. Oh, there's a light orange over here. Let me pick up the light orange. Okay, that is too dark. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use this. I'm going to pick that up. Then I'm going to use my scrubber with a little bit of fresh water. I'm like, ew, I don't like that. But I like what happened after I scrubbed it. There we go. So using the scrubber brush, I was able to scrub up some of that color because it was a little too intense. Let's put some more water in here again. Now, what you want to be careful of is that orange and blue are opposite each other on the color wheel, right? So what that means is if you blend the two together, you're going to get brown, and I don't want brown here. So I'm actually staying away from the blue. I just have the water near the blue, but not actually on the blue because I want to drop some orange in there, which looks good next to blue, but doesn't look good actually over top of blue. Okay, so it's important to sort of have a feel for the color table. I mean the color wheel, so that you know how that works. There's a little bit of too much water in there. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of pooling right there, and I want to put more orange. So what I'm doing is I rinsed my brush in cold water, and I'm taking most of the water out because my objective is that I want to pick up some of that water that's there and some of that pink color because I want to go more orange. Okay, so I was able to lift that up and now I don't have a big puddle there. All right, now I'm going to dip into one of the other oranges for fun, and we're going to put that orange in there. Now I need a kind of a darker orange, don't I? I need like a vermilion orange. So let's do that. Yeah, there we go. But I'm trying not to touch the blue because that's why it's important. Like I did the nose first and the mouth, and now those are dry. So when I put the orange next to it, it's not going to bleed into the blue because orange and blue are opposite each other on the color wheel. What does that mean? That means they look great next to each other and they look horrible mixed together. So let me show you the color wheel real quick. So here's a color wheel, and you've got orange and blue on opposite sides of the color wheel. That means if I mix orange and blue, here I'm going to use the color calculator. So if I mix orange and blue, you see how I get this gray green, kind of a mousy green color comes out of it. So that's what's beautiful about having a color wheel with a color calculator on it like that, because then you can gauge ahead of time what might happen. Okay, so I'm just putting a little bit more of that orange in there. Woo! Nice. Now, anywhere that the orange has touched the blue, there's a tiny bit that touched right there. It's got that kind of a dark color to it. Okay, here, I'm gonna bring it like this. And then I'm gonna put some more of that dark orange right around the nose because this part is light, but the part right around the nose is a little bit darker. Okay, we're letting it bleed. Now, I want this part of her nose to be a little lighter. So what am I gonna do? Get some fresh water on my big brush. I'm gonna get a lot of the water out, and then I'm gonna come in and I'm going to massage that a little bit to lift out some of the color. So you see how I made that lighter right there? Yeah, nice. And then I'm getting rid of that excess color. Cool. Now I see some of the color went into the purple right here, which is not a big deal, but I'm just lifting some of it out. And actually, I want this to be dark purple right here, where the snout meets the head right here. It's a little bit darker, just a little bit. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that purple. And right now, I'm going to drop a little bit of that dark purple right in here. Now it's still a little bit wet, so it's not working real well. This is as you play with watercolor, you'll get to know like when the paper is dry enough or wet enough. Okay, there we go. So we're beginning to get some dimension in there. Now, the bottom here is super light. I'm actually going to make that like sort of this pinky stuff right here. So let's go back into a little bit of that pink. Actually, it needs to be a little bit darker than that. Why? Because see how pink the her little outfit is right there. Okay, so we're just making this her bottom lip. She has a big lip or a big bottom area there, huh? And the idea here is just to play with colors and not get too stressed over it. We are just having fun, right? Actually, blue and red mix together. They'll mix together beautifully, and I'll show you that on the color wheel. So blue to violet to red, they're in the same half of the color wheel. So these, starting with blue, these will play nicely together. And then over here, you've got the yellow and the orange will play nicely together. And here, the blue and the yellow will play nicely together. But you'll get familiar with that as you play with it, and you can actually do your own exercises using the color wheel. Okay, so now let me clean this up a little bit. Oops, too much water. Too much, too much. There we go. That's why you have to have your paper towel handy. Ah, looking cute. I'm gonna come back over here. Oops, look at me. I'm dripping, dripping, dripping. Okay. Is that a bug? Ah, nope. Okay. So that's just getting down our first layers. Let me see. I can see that the line is there, and I want to get that more paint up there to the line. Now, in the middle of the dog's ear, there's a little dark area, right? So I'm going to take some of that purple and mix it with a little bit of blue. They're next to each other on the palette there. And I'm just going to throw that in there. It makes sort of a purpley blue. So don't worry because you can come back later and adjust that if you think, oh, that, doesn't look right. But it can be adjusted later. There we go. This is still very wet, so it's running a lot. And actually, I think I'm going to push this a little bit more so it doesn't just look like a triangle. Okay, there we go. Now, don't we have a lot of fun colors on there? I love that. I just love that. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this. These eyes are dry. So we're gonna do the next color on the eyes. So I need a smaller brush and I'm using the Princeton Velvet Touch size 6, which has that nice snappy tip. So now I did this color before, like a yellow ochre. Now I'm going in with sort of a rusty brown color, maybe a burnt sienna. Okay. And I'm not covering the whole iris. I'm leaving some yellow around the outside. And that way it just adds a little bit of interest to the eyes. If you go, oh, that's interesting. There's some yellow there. Yeah. Okay. So you're leaving some yellow. You don't need to worry about covering the whole thing. If you're somebody who likes to cover up the whole thing, knock yourself out, cover the whole thing. In other words, put a layer of this brown over top of the yellow. It's fine. It's fine. You'll be okay. There we go. But I like leaving a little bit of the yellow, so it's kind of like, huh, that's an interesting color. There we go. I'm just borrowing some of the darker from over here and bringing it over here. There we go. So now we've deepened, that's the second layer. Okay. I usually do 3 layers on the eyes. And now we're going to come here and I'm going to go a little bit. Let's see. I kind of like this pink right here, but I want to combine the pink with some brown. Yeah, there we go. See, sometimes what you have on your palette, you can just blend in with other things that you have. Oh, let's take a little bit of that and just experiment. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build some more texture in this area where there's the faux fur. So I'm not just going to cover the whole thing in one layer. I'm sort of making brush strokes so that I have a little bit of texture going on. And since you're painting in layers, yes, there will be more. There'll be another layer. Dang, right? Yes. So I usually do these types of artworks in 3 to 4 layers. So here I'm going to do it a little bit differently. And there's a little crease right here. So I'm going to darken the area underneath the crease. There we go. So that's just because when that's dry, I'm going to put another wash over top of it and it'll help sort of integrate it all. Okay. So that was kind of brown. I'm going to show you the reference picture so you have a feel for it. There it is. So this is that, but I'm not trying to make it absolutely perfect. Oh, we have her little legs down here. What color do we want to do her legs? Um, let's see. Maybe I want to combine the cranberry here with a little bit of blue since they're in shadow. Phew. There, which gives sort of another kind of soft purple. There we go. I forgot about her legs. Don't forget about her legs. I mean, in the other one that I did of my other dog, I actually made the legs yellow and red. Really way out there. Nutso. I could actually stick a little bit of this like orangey yellow in there right up here. Why not? just to do a little something different, huh? There we go. If you're doing a painting like this, do lots of paintings like this, okay? Where you have a lot of fun and you're not too worried about the outcome, and you get to play around with colors and see how they interact with one another. And you will teach yourself so much just by doing little fun exercises. And like I said, if you weren't here earlier, I put the outline that I made for my pupster and the picture here are both on my website. So that's Dietz Art, Dietz, like the word diet with a Z on the end, um, art.com. Okay, I like the way this bled into the purple while it was still wet. So I'm going to grab a little bit more of that. That's this kind of orangey, deep, like a yellow deep here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here and sort of put it on top of the purple. Why not? But I can see I need a lot more water. It was already beginning to get dry. Oh, that's fun. Okay, there we go. At least there's a color there. You know that you can always change it later. Oh, she's so cute. She's so cute. All right. Let's go back to I actually want to do a little bit more on the nose and then we'll come back to her coat. Okay? So let's in the nose, I need to incorporate a little bit more of the darker blues. So here's a dark, dark, dark blue right here. Hey, Queen to Bohemian, welcome in, welcome in. So let's do the dark, dark, dark blue. I'm gonna, I'm actually on the nose. There are some light areas of the nose. So I'm just gonna darken the area in the back here. I'm gonna darken a little bit, add more water, darken a little bit here along that center line, right? Because they have that like center line there. And it's kind of dark there, kind of dark around here. But I don't want to, now I'm going to add more water. And so as I move it around, then it'll get a little bit lighter. It won't be so dark. And just play, play, play. I'm leaving a little bit of it light because I'm assuming the light is hitting that side of her nose over here. Okay. So layer, layer, layer. Layer will give you a lot of interest. Okay, I'm bringing some of the dark back down here. So I'm working with something that looks like an ultramarine blue now. That's like dark. And then I'm gonna layer it up in here too. But I just added a lot of water, so it's not quite as dark. Hey, Barbara Florentine, welcome in, welcome in. We're playing around. We're doing something similar to what you like. I think you like to do colorful artwork too. And we're just using watercolor instead of acrylics this time. Poppy, yes, Poppy, exactly. Okay, there's a lot of water on there. So I could either, what I do a lot is Jazz W on and Austin. Okay, first Steve Austin asked over on YouTube, is that a pit bull? And actually this is my she's a Jack Russell Terrier. She's tiny, but she thinks she's massive. And then the other question was, is this the Sakura Koi watercolor? Or no, I guess someone asked what's the brand, and then Jazz W, thank you for answering, said it's the Sakura Koi watercolor palette. It's the 24 field box. And so I will take a paper towel and I fold it up so I get a little edge right there. And then I can just go and I can pop that on there and that will pick up some of that excess water. If I feel like it's going to take too long to dry and I want to move her along, then I do that. Another thing I do is I'll get out the heat tool. I always have my heat tool right next to me here. And then I can always hit it with the heat tool like that for a moment too to help it begin to do that. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to go back down into her coat. And I'm going to use the large brush this time. See, I have my paper towel here. I'm always dabbing. So what I want to do is I love that pink color, but it needs to be a little deeper, right? So now I'm using the deeper color with the white. So I'm going to go along here. So now remember the white makes it more like a gouache, meaning it's going to make it a little more opaque, unless I add lots of water. But in this case, I wanted it to be a little bit darker and to give that sort of detail right there. That's the little area where there's Velcro under there. Okay, now I'm going to dip my brush so that I have more water on it. And I'm darkening the area that's going to be in the shadow here, right? And we're just having fun. Hot or cold press? Ah, excellent question, Barbara. I'm working on hot press. Or no, I'm sorry. Right now, I'm working on cold press. I'm working on the Canson XL watercolor. But earlier, we started on the kitty cat, and this is the Fabriano hot press. Okay, which is the smooth. So here I'm just grabbing a little bit more, get that darker color. See, I'm always contaminating my colors, but it doesn't matter with watercolor, right? Because what? I can go back in and I can clean these up with water. That's all it takes, just a little bit of water. Now this part underneath here needs to be a little bit darker, right? Because it's going to be in the shadow. So I put a little bit more of the color in as opposed to white back there. And then I'm going to do that here. This is the band along the top of her little corduroy jacket. And then I'm going to grab a little more darkness and put it over here. So this is the top of it. And that purple right there is supposed to be her skin. What the heck? Why not? It's fun. Now this whole side over here is supposed to be in shadow. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do the same pink again, but I'm going to add a little bit of blue into it so it makes it a little purpley. So let's do this part underneath here to kind of shadow it a little bit. Add a little more water, pick a little bit more of the pink right there, just to make it a little thicker. There we go. This is just about suggestion and not about being perfect. That's if you look at this little one, you see there, press on rough woof, right? So you can just see all the fun colors, just following the shapes. That's all. We're just following the shapes, but you can do any number of colors. I think I'll leave this area up here very light because the jacket itself is light. But I am going to take a little bit more of the darker and put it right along here because that's like the little cuff. She just has a little cuff there along her leg. Let's get a little more color, put it in, drop it in there. There we go. So that's the little cuff there. And I'm going to, even though the cuff is not showing here, I'm going to put that same color over here. Just to suggest the cuff over here. There we go. Okay. Now let's go back to what area? This is still wet, so I want to avoid that. So I'm constantly looking at, hey, Salmon's girl. Oh man, I'm late, she says. Yep, that's okay. You know, the replay will be available both on Whatnot and on YouTube. So what I'm trying to do now with YouTube, thank you, Salmon's girl, said he's cute. what I'm trying to do with YouTube is go back in and rewatch the video and put the timestamps on. So I haven't done it for last week's video yet. I started and then I got distracted. So, but that's one of the things I'm going to be putting in the description of the video on YouTube and putting in the article on my website is some timestamps for you. Okay. So that you'll know, like if you want to see the kitty cat, you go to that timestamp. If you want to see this one, you go to this timestamp. If you want to see the supplies, you go to the supplies timestamp. Okay. So I'm endeavoring to get better at that. Okay, so right now what I want to do is this area of the eyes is dry. So before I start going a little crazy in the other areas here, I want to go ahead and put some black in the center of the eyes. So I'm actually going to use the detail brush. So this was the detail brush from Christy Rice. It says happy painting on it, and it is a number 2 round. So I'm going to get some water on that. And I'm going to go into the black. There's always trepidation when you're working with black. Wah. Okay, I'm going to turn this around so it's closer to me. Notice how I have my hand underneath here. So sometimes I will hold it so I can get just the angle that I want. And I'm going to leave, let me see in the picture, there's a white spot over here. So I'm actually going to draw the white spot in, and then I'm going to draw the black around it. And so that's how I preserve the white, is I actually paint around the white, and then I go in with the black. Nice. So you see the little light in her eyes. Oh, okay. Now there's some more black here. So paint with, let's do the other eye. And actually, interesting. So that's on the inside, and on the other one, it's also on the inside. Okay, I'll just paint it the way I see it on the picture, and then I can always adjust it later if I look at it and go, man, that looks really wonky. Right? You can always adjust it. But where you put your black, it's like, Now, what I showed earlier, Salmon's Girl, is there's this paint called Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, and that's what you can use to go back over top of it if you didn't put the white, if you didn't leave the white in there. And we're going to do that with the kitty cat. Now that the kitty cat is dry, we're going to go back and use the bleed proof white on that. Now, I don't have to get all of this covered. It's okay if there's a little bit of white on the edges there. Can you see that? It just adds dimension to it. Okay, now this area, there's more black here, okay, around the eye. So I'm going to go ahead right now, dip in, get some more of that black. So, people who say, oh, you shouldn't use black, you should mix your black, whatever. Like, I'm going to use the colors that are available to me. Okay, so the black comes down like this, and then it comes up over top of the eye. So this I'm actually going to put down on the paper because it makes it easier, more steady for me. But yeah, there is black all around, almost like eyeliner, right? It's almost like I'm putting eyeliner on my doggy. There we go. So you sort of build that shape, almost like the Egyptian Ankh, right? Trying not to put my hand in other wet paint. Now, what's interesting here is that there's almost no white to my doggy's eyes. So I only leave just a tiny bit of white there. You'll see how there's only a tiny bit of white? Did you use a reference? Ah, Salmon's Girl. Yes, I am using a reference, and the reference picture is of my sweet little doggie named Becca, like short for Rebecca. And it is on my website right now, but it will also be, I'll roll it into the article. You'll be able to download it. So this is the picture of my baby right there. And then I freehand drew her onto this paper, but, oh, but um, what I did was I took a picture of the outline. And so the outline is now on my website, on the blog for this article, for this project, and you'll be able to download it for yourself if you want to try it. And okay, so there's the black portion of the one eye. Notice how I left a lot of white around it initially. So I'll go back in and I'll very carefully put some color in there. All right, let's do the other eye. Because she's white, you see a lot of the black that comes down the face here. I have to use eye wipes for my baby. Colors are so rich. Yeah, thank you. Like I was saying, for this kind of project, these are not what I would call professional watercolors, but they are very good. The colors are super bright. Oh, look, they do say the color names on here. It doesn't say anything on the box. This is the box for and there will be a link in the description in the video on YouTube, and on the article when I put the article up on my website. But they name the colors and they have their own numbers so you can reorder, but they don't indicate anything about whether they're light fast or not. So, do the work and then um, make reproductions, right? Because I don't know if the paint is light fast, and that is an issue if you're going to sell your artwork, right? This brush, again, if you weren't here earlier, this is the Christy Rice, from one of the Christy Rice sets. It's a nice detail brush. So let me go back in here again. This is on the other eye. I'm giving her eyeliner. Boop. The funny thing is with this little pupster, Becca, her eyes actually, the top of her eyes actually have white eyelashes. Isn't that cute? She has white eyelashes, which you can always put in with a pen later if you wanted to do it true to form. Okay, let's just, there we go. Just like that. We're going to bring the black here and blacken that in right there. Yeah, he's so cute. I can't help it. She's my pupster, right? Okay. And so this area too, like I said, they only have very little white. Most of it is black around there. Oh, see, to me, the eyes, it's like the eyes make it. See, my other pupster here, I made her blue eyes, um, which is kind of unusual, but I used to have a dog with blue eyes, not this doggy, but I did have a blue healer. I had an Australian Shepherd, and she had blue eyes, and she was beautiful. Okay, so I'm happy with where those are going, right? Let's wash off this brush right here. Oh, you know what? I want to come into the nostril. This is dry enough now from the blue that now I'm going to put the dark, 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 dark part of the nostril in. So let's do a little bit more black here. And now we can come in and do the center of the nostril here, right? Which is super dark. All right. And I'm just following the lines that I drew in pencil. There we go. If you're a watercolorist, do not get like crazy about the pencil. You know what I mean? Just, it's an original piece of artwork. Allow your pencil marks to show because in my opinion, that just shows the hand of the artist, the design of the artist. So much is AI these days, and how is somebody going to tell when they're buying a piece if it's AI or not, right? But if you have taken the time to draw out the picture and they can see your pencil lines in the artwork, that's going to give somebody like the reassurance that, oh, this is an original work of art from an artist. Awesome. There we go. Let's pick up a little bit more of that black. If you just add more water to the black, you'll end up with a gray. Okay. So this is the inside of the nostril generally is pretty darn dark. Although sometimes right around that hole, there's a little white mark, which of course you can add in with your bleed proof white after the fact if you want to. Okay, now I'm going to go around the outside of the nose a little bit more. Yeah, to sort of define. Now I added a lot of water to it, so it's not super dark. I'm actually working with sort of a gray right now. Boop, just to bring the gray down to the mouth. There we go. This is what you do, right, Barbara? I don't know if Barbara is still in here or not, but Barb on Whatnot, Barbara, um, Florentine does live painting. She's mostly acrylic, but she does live painting, and she's got such an incredible, a fabulous personality. And it's a lot of fun to sit there and watch her and chat. Okay, so I actually want the nose is a little darker up in here, this area where I have the blue right now. So I'm just dropping in a little bit of gray, and I want a little bit of a darker line down the middle of the nose because it's interesting how the nose has this little mark right down the middle, right? Okay. Now, after I'm finished with a painting, I usually will let it, rest, let the concept rest. And then I'll come back to it the next day and go, oh, I needed a little more blue, or I need a little more pink, or whatever it happens to be. And then you can, well, that's not bad for a nose. You can see here, I went in with a lot more black on this little nose right there. So it's something, give yourself time, let yourself build up those layers where you go, it is easier to add that darkening than it is to um, actually remove it, especially when you're working with black. It's almost impossible to remove the black. Okay. And then I want to use some of this gray, a little more black to it. And I want to put it around the bottom of the mouth here. So I added a lot of water, so it's sort of gray. There we go. That's like her mouth. But I do want to preserve some of that blue in there. There we go. So it almost looks like she's smiling at you, right? Okay. Now let's go ahead and before I want this black to fully dry before I come back up into here. This is nice and dry. And so that's the idea is you want to put that first layer down and then let it dry. So I'm going to put a glaze over top of this. So what is a glaze? A glaze is where you take a color and you make sure you have a good amount of water with it, and then you lay it over top of texture that's underneath there. So I'm going to use the bigger brush I was showing you earlier. This is from the Christy Rice set that I will link at in the video. And I'm going to glaze this with some sort of color. So I think what I want to do is probably bring this sort of orangey yellow in there. So that's this color right here. on this palette from Sakura. So I'm going to get plenty of water. And remember, you can, this may not be the last layer, or it may. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and I'm using the side of the brush and I'm just glazing right over top of it. The area I'm working on is already dry. Okay, so what that will do is that will show you, you'll still be able to see the texture underneath it when it dries. All right, but it's just bringing all the color together. Now, I want to make the area here next to the doggy's head darker, and I want to make the area down here where there's a crease a little darker too. So see how some of that pink has already gone in there? Let's see, maybe I'll just grab a little bit darker orange and a little bit of the pink that's already on the palette to darken it a little bit, and then I'll just drop that in here because it's a shadow, right? It's okay where it's going to meet the body. And then grab a little bit more and drop it in here where there's a bit of a shadow as well. All right, so that's just giving that a little bit more dimension. And when that dries, you'll still be able to see the texture that I added underneath it. Okay, let's go back to the face and work a little bit more in this area. And then we'll be done for tonight for the lesson anyway. I usually will finish my artworks offline, meaning afterwards and during the course of the week. And then I'll show you next week the finished piece. But right now I want to show you how, oh, there's a little hair there. Imagine that, hairs in my artwork. Yeah, there's always doggy DNA in my artwork. Okay, so I am gonna go with this um Princeton size 10 round. You see the snappy tip right there? The reason I want this brush as opposed to this brush has a pretty nice tip, but this one has an even better tip. And that, hey, friendly vibes, welcome in, welcome in. And the reason I like that is that I want to control the water that goes around the eyes here and get rid of a little bit of that white space, but without jeopardizing the black. Okay, I don't want the black to run. So let's just get some water on here. And this was our um, this pink right here. So I'm just going to get some of that on the brush. Before I put it on here, I'm going to put it here just to see what it looks like. Okay, add a little bit more water. Hey, let's deepen this a little bit. Let's have some fun. It's okay because I already have pink on there. I don't have to deepen the whole area right away. I can take my time with my layers of deepening. Now I can also look at the picture and see if there are any shadows. And you can see here, there's a big old shadow over by the ear. So I'm going to drop in that shadow over here by the ear. And there's plenty of pink there, so I don't have to worry about putting it all the way on the whole thing. Now I'm dry brushing it, meaning the brush doesn't have all the water in it. It's not as soaked as it was earlier. So I can get this what's called broken color. Do you see that right there? So I'm able to use the brush on the side like this and get some broken color going. Okay. Oh, she's so cute. And there's a little bit more there. Okay. So for now, that's deepening. Later I'll probably come in with even more and deepen it some more in here like this, leaving some of the other colors underneath it, right? So that I'm just building up more layers and more interest. Okay. And On this side over here, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to go with the darker, a little bit darker over here, because this is the shaded part of her head. Whoop, it didn't come out darker, did it? Let's try to get that a little bit darker. There we go. So it's okay if it goes into the ear just a little bit. And because I have this incredible snappy tip, I can bring the snappy tip over here around the eye, right? And now I want to bring some of that purple in. So here's the purple color, and we're going to do it pretty dark, pretty heavily. There we are. So that's how I go back. And the center of the face is usually, there's a little bit of shadow right in the very center, but there's a lot of light here and here right above the eyes. So it's okay to leave those areas more light as you're progressing and building up the layers. Okay, let me do just a little bit more. I want to do a little bit of the orange in here because it's a little dark right around here, right around her snout and up. And so I want to keep that orange theme kind of going there. Okay, so I brought that up a little bit. And then it's okay while that's still wet to bring a little bit more of this pink in and sort of combine them. Okay, because that way you'll have a furry line here instead of having a line that follows right along with um, the marks that you've made. Okay, so that's how you build the background and then start coming in and identifying and adding a little more interest to it. Of course, I'm going to go in and darken the ears more. I'm going to build this area up a little bit more here. I'm going to work more on the mouth and the snout to bring a little more drama to the orange. But you will see that next week because I'm going to do that off camera. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll film those additional steps and put them on my um, social media on my Instagram. So this is my Instagram, Dietzart, Dietzart. If you want to follow me on Instagram, and then sometimes I'll put the finishing touches of doing the work on there. But you do have on my website this one, the picture of this one that you can get an idea of how I finished it. But I will show you that next week. Let's go to this one real quick as we finish up. All right, two things that we're going to do to finish off this little cute furry kitty. One is we're going to use a black micron pen. So y'all are very familiar with that. And the Micron pens are my favorite permanent black pen. I usually buy them like this in a whole set, but you can buy them open stock if there's a particular size that you use. Um, oh, and yay, hearts over on YouTube. Thank you. So with the eyes, we're going to do something similar to what we have with the doggy here. Oopsies. So you see how the eye comes down like this? We're going to do the same thing with the kitty cat eyes. But I'm going to use, since this is fully dry now, I can use my Micron pen. So I have a little more control over the shape of the eye and the way that this goes on than when I'm using a brush, right? I have a little more control over it when I use the pen. Nice. So there we go. This one is a kitty cat with big green eyes. Okay, and then we're going to do the other one over here so that it has a little bit usually that comes down right here, and then it goes over, and they're not quite round, they're a little bit ovally, and then there's a little bitty bit right there that you can see. So let me go ahead and finish off these kitties' eyes, and then I'll show you putting the white dot on. Okay, we have two minutes left of the giveaway. So, like I said, if you're on YouTube and you want to participate in the giveaway, just follow the link in the description of the video. It'll take you to YouTube, I mean to Whatnot. And this is the giveaway is a custom made professional set of watercolors that I put together. Meh. I love the little travel tin. It's cute, right? Okay, so there's that. There's the shape of the kitty cat eyes. Look at those eyes. They're so stinking cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, and um then we're going to do the whites of the eyes here. So, and I'm going to show you using the bleed proof white. So this is Dr. PH Martin's bleed proof white. And what I do is I will Whatnot is a super resource for all things awesome. Yes, it is. It's true. Now, with that pen, that micron pen, I could have at this point drawn in the dots and the whiskers instead of using the watercolor where I messed up on the little whisker there. But whatever, it's all good, right? It's all good in the hood. Okay, so I'm gonna take a detail brush. So this one is the Christy Rice. It says happy painting, number 2 round. So let me make sure it's clean because I did have black on it before. So I went in the dirty water. Now I'm going in the clean water and I'm going to touch it on my paper towel first. And I'm going to reach in here. Now, usually what I'll do is take the back end of my brush and mix this. Okay. Because it gets kind of, it can get dry and crusty on top, the bleed proof white. And so I do that first. Do, 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 do. There we go. You can do that with a palette knife or a stir stick, whatever you have. Just usually I have my brushes handy. So yeah, I'm going to waste a little. Oh, let's see. Grizzy won. Grizzy. Congratulations, Grizzy. So Grizzy, this is a custom made. These were empty half pans. I filled them a quarter. So this is like a quarter pan set of some of my favorite colors: lemon yellow, gamboge, perylene red, quinacridone magenta, cobalt teal, and ultramarine blue. And they mix nicely together as well. So I poured them earlier today out of tubes. So this is what the tubes look like, professional watercolors that I poured them out of. And now they've got to dry for about 48 hours and then I'll mail them off to you. Okay, so congratulations, Chrissy. Woo, woo, woo. Where's my bell? Where's my bell? All right, so now I'm going to show you with the detail brush. I'm going to go into the um, Doc PH Martin's bleed proof white. And this is better. In my opinion, the bleed proof white is better than using the markers. Like better than using the Posca marker and better than using the Signo pen, which I use both of the Posca and the Signo often. But what I find is when you have black watercolor like this, the bleed proof white from Doc Martens is made specifically for graphic artists to go over top of water media like this. So it tends to sit on top better. It can blend in with the color if the color is not completely like crispy dry. Okay. But if so, you just let it dry completely and then you come back on top of it. So where do I want to put your little, I guess I'm doing it over here. And you guys will thank me later that I introduced you to the bleed proof white. I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's a miracle. It's the best. I just love it. Okay, look, look at that. Can you see that? Can you see the whites in the eyes now? It's just like, mwah, chef's kiss. It's perfect. So if there's any white that you need to highlight your piece, definitely I'm going to tell you this is the way to go. So this will be linked, the Doc PH Martin bleed proof white. I will link it in the description of the video on YouTube under the live tab on my channel um, later tonight. So it'll be there tomorrow for you. And I will also include it when I write the article on my website for this workshop. Then I will also include the link for it in that, so that if you ever, forget and you're wondering, you'll be able to come back and get that information. Okay. So isn't that fun? That was the kitty cat out of the book. Let me show you the book. So if you weren't here earlier, we were working from this book, 15-minute watercolor masterpieces, one of my favorite authors for art books, Anna Koliadich. Okay. And so this will be linked in the description of the video as well and on my website. But that was where we took this project from, which was the fluffy kitty cat. And then this one is what the pupster looks like, my pupster. And this is already the outliner for this, and this image is already on my website. So you can go to my website now and download that if you want to. Okay. Ooh, what's also on my website already is my daughter's puppy named Max. And this was the artwork that I did of Max, but using some of the same techniques that we were talking about today. And those pictures are already on my website, so you can go grab those. All right, we're going to get started on the auction tonight on whatnot. Oh, sometimes people ask me, what do I do with my watercolors um, while they're still wet? And usually I leave them open like this overnight. And then that way they can all dry up, and then I'll close them. If I'm traveling, sometimes you just have to close it up and call it a day. But I try to like, that's okay being over top of it. It'll still dry overnight, or I can just put this here and let that dry overnight, and then I'll close it back up mañana, tomorrow.